All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rekakwadash, giving double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom to all the brothers out here laboring in this truth with sincerity. Shalom to the few sisters that watch. It's coming back with another lesson. Because, we have more evidence every day that Babylon the Great, aka America, is hanging on by a thread, man. This place is about to crumble. This place is about to implode on itself. Just ran across some articles, hearing word of mouth on some stuff and then just researching. But it says White House's 50-year mortgage proposal has one notable benefit, but a number of drawbacks. And, that's totally insane, man. A 50-year mortgage on a home. So by the time you calculate the interest, the taxes, the maintenance, all this stuff, man, a 50-year mortgage. If you can find a $300,000 home, by the time you finish paying, you probably paid over $1 million, man, off the interest alone. This is insane. This is just evidence that this place is crumbling, man. People are not buying homes. People can't afford homes. So this is just a ploy to make it affordable. Let's see. It says the White House says it is considering backing a 50-year mortgage to help alleviate the home affordability crisis in the country. Yeah, people can't afford these homes, man. People SNAP benefits cut off. People are worried about food, clothing, school, whatever else they might be doing, man. This place is crumbling, man. People still want to make a place here. America is over with. That's just the bottom line, man. People just need to face it, man. And just the thing about it, it's time to come back to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man. It's time to repent because soon this place is going to be burned with thermonuclear fire, man. It says, but the announcement drew immediate criticism from policymakers, social media, and economists. Says who said a 50-year mortgage would do little to resolve the core problems in the housing markets, such as lack of supply and high interest rates. Yeah. Man, people can't afford it, man. If you look at apartments, people can barely afford to live in an apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, man, going for like $1,500, which was usually was a mortgage on a home. Man, it's over with, man. It's over. It says Bill Polite, whatever his name, director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, said on X over the weekend that a 50-year mortgage would be a complete game changer for home buyers. The FHFA is a part of the federal government that oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which buy and insure the vast majority of mortgages in the country. It says a 30-year mortgage is uniquely American financial product and the difficult way to buy a home since the New Deal. It says politicians and policymakers at the time wanted to create a standardized mortgage and borrowers could afford to pay off during working years when the average lifespan of an American was 66 years old. It says, it will lower your payment. It says the average selling price of a home in the U.S. was $415,000 in September, according to the National Association of Realtors. Assuming a standard 10% down payment and an average interest rate of 6.17%, the monthly payment on a 30-year mortgage would be $2,200, roughly $2,300, while the payment on a 50-year mortgage would be $2,202, $2,200. Oh, Salakia, $2,022. It says that's presuming the bank would not require a higher interest rate on a 50-year mortgage due to the longer duration of the loan, which, hey man, interest rates are going up. So, we could continue on in the article, but this place is over, man. It's got a little chart down here. Man, you see it. It says 30-year fixed rate. Shoot, man, like I said, you'll end up paying over $1 million, $1.2 million on a home. Wow, that's insane, man. Over 50 years. So that's crazy anyway. You paying $800,000, and I think they said on the $300,000 home. Man, these people are making a killing, man. It's an extra, $400,000, Salakia. But still, you paying $400,000 extra more dollars, man. These people are making a killing, man. Hey man, America, the Babylon the Great is simply racket. It's a ripoff, man. Everything about it is made for the rich to get richer, the wealthy to get wealthier. It's not made for the citizens. The average everyday citizens, which is no middle class anymore. Is the upper poor class. But let's go to the book of Habakkuk chapter 2. It says, also because he transgresses by wine. It's speaking of these Edomites, man. The wicked elites and the rulers of this nation. It says, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. And we see him now going to Venezuela, going to Colombia, got their nose in Israel, Palestine, got their nose in Ukraine. Man, hey, one thing about it, man, these scriptures are definitely faithful and true. It exposes this devil, especially by way of the prophets, man. The Lord will speak through the mouth of his prophets, and that's what's happening. This place is being consumed by the Spirit of the Lord by way of the prophets. It says, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire is hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, Salakia, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And that's this devil's goal, man. We see it moving towards that, man. Having a 50-year mortgage, you constantly got your foot on these people's necks, man. With debt, because if you're in debt, you're basically a slave. You have no freedom. You have no freedom to do anything if you're in debt to these people. So it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him? Because we're coming in time, man. Like I said, we're taking that parable up against this devil, man. Exposing this devil on every angle. These devils can't breathe, man, without us coming out exposing them. Whatever the situation may be, even like this mortgage situation. It says, shall not all these take up a parable? And the thing about it, we're exposing him through the scriptures. This is not our personal opinions about this man. And when I say this man, I'm speaking of Esau Edom, the so-called white man, from the wicked elites on down. But it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth, which that is not his. Because if you get into this mortgage, you can't pay the taxes, you can't pay the mortgage. This devil come take it right from under your nose and sell it off. On top of what you paid, he's gonna sell it and get more money on top of that. So that's how these devils operate. It says, how long? And to him that ladleth himself with thick clay. That's what this country is built on, man. Thick clay, which actually means debt, heavy debt. So we go into this word thick clay, weight of pledges, heavy debts. A batyat is the word, in the Hebrew, So thick clay is heavy debts. Even he's in debt, trillions of dollars, like $38 trillion. I'm sure it's more now, So it's all about debt. He's in debt. We're in debt. And it's going to slowly contribute to this place falling. I don't even know if it's slowly now. This place is going super fast. So I just Googled, are home sales down? And it says, yes, home sales have been down for some time nationally due to high prices and elevated mortgage rates. Although there is a slight uptick in September 25, the market is currently characterized by a standoff between sellers and buyers, leading to fewer transactions overall and a cooling market because people can't afford it, man. People cannot afford these homes, man. Especially when you're trying to eat. Especially when you got these other miscellaneous bills you got to pay. Something, and with us, man, being under these curses, something always gonna come up. So we really, first of all, our credit is bad anyway, for the majority of the people, man, and based off who we are, we can't get that no way. Your credit can be good. These devils still gonna make it hard for you. So, the subject of a 15-year car loan came up. They're saying it's not true. But if you're giving a 50-year mortgage loan because people can't afford it, why wouldn't you do the same for the cars, man? People can't afford these cars, man. Probably the average going rate of a car, new car these days, decent car, man, is probably $60,000. And really none of them are decent. All of them got flaws, recalls, all kind of stuff. And this article came out today. So it says 15-year car loans aren't a thing, but Americans are getting more and more, more comfortable with long loan terms because they're trying to lower their payments, man. They're trying to lower their payments. It says a rumor going around online stated that President Donald Trump has proposed a 15-year auto loan. While not true, a 15-year auto loan wouldn't financially be a good idea in the long run. But, people are going to do what they got to do, man, to get around. It says a while I did recently started to make the rounds online that many were convinced was true after President Donald Trump floated the idea of a half-century mortgage. Shortly after this announcement, an image that appeared legitimate, bearing both the image and color scheme of the official White House announcement, claimed Trump had directed both the Transportation and Commerce Secretaries to work on and introducing a 15-year auto loan. Whether it's 15 or whatever, it's coming, man. People can't afford things out here now. People cannot afford these cars, these houses. Yeah, man, Babylon the Great is finished. Okay, down here it says using the average new car price, $49,000 is the average new car price, man. Not too long ago, probably 5 years ago, 23,000 was like the norm. Now it's up to 49,000. Insane. It says using the average new car price of 49,000, no down payment, and an interest rate of 7%, a buyer would pay nearly $30,500 in interest over the life of the loan. Man, thick clay, thick clay. So this place is falling, man. It says this is not true, but it's not too far away. This idea is not too far away, because people cannot afford these cars or these homes, man. Hey, so I only hope is in Yahweh Shem Yahushua and the destruction of this place. We don't want to make a place here. We understand we're subject to payments here. But on these car loans, it says, yes, U.S. car sales are down, with a noticeable decline in October 25 due to factors like the expiration of the EV tax credits, high prices, and rising interest rates. This slowdown followed a period of rush buying and has created a weaker market with increased inventory and the potential for more incentives. So car sales are down. Car sales are down. High prices and interest rates, a combination of the high vehicle prices and rising interest rates, is making car ownership less affordable for customers. So, reduce affordability. With monthly payments and insurance costs rising, most consumers, are struggling to afford new vehicles, and missed payments have hit an 30-year high. So this 15-year car payment loan is definitely something that's probably right around the corner, man. Yeah, so we know the only hope that we have of getting out of here is, through our Lord, man. Yahweh Shem Yahushua, to be honest, because this place is going to continue to spiral out of control. All you got to do is look at the news. Constantly something in the news. Now, today you got Trump in the Epstein situation, man. This every day is something different, And at the same time, money is getting tighter, bills are getting higher, food is getting higher. So, soon this place will be over with. This place is gonna be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. Actually, like I say, that's our only hope. That's our only way out. And we're gonna rejoice, man. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 18. This is just going into the destruction of this place, because this is what we are patiently waiting on. This is what we long for, so to speak. And, eventually, the rest of these nations, man, are going to be hurt. They're going to be hurt because they've made so much money off Babylon the Great. Like I say, this place is $38 trillion in debt. And a lot of that debt is to other nations, man. First and foremost, China. But even though these people are going to take, have a part in the destruction of America, they still going to feel it. Because once they destroy America, they know that it's over with, man. It's all over with. A new rulership is going to be taking place. So let's get into book of Revelation chapter 18. It says, and after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. It says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. This Babylon the Great is speaking of America through the Spirit. We know this. It says, and it's become a habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird, because this place is going to be a desert wasteland. No one is going to dwell here again. It's going to be a monument of the sort of like how the Lord was exalted through Egypt. The Lord is gonna be exalted through the destruction of the greatest kingdom to ever the greatest kingdom ever established, man, on earth. Until our Lord comes. So it says, verse 3, it says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Yeah, trade deals. Look how much money this place is shipping out to Israel. Look how much money this place is shipping out to Ukraine. Look how much money China makes off the consumers in Babylon the Great, man. So all these people have lived deliciously off this whore. It says, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye may not be partakers of her sin, and that ye receive not of her plagues." And it's speaking of literally coming out, being beamed up on the ships. So let's see. Let's go to the book of Zechariah. No, the book of let's see. The book of Zechariah, chapter 14, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Let's see. Salakia. It speaks of the plagues, if I'm not mistaken. Man, am I going? Salakia. I'm sure. Let's see. Salakia for that. Yeah, I was right there. Salakia, it says, "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth." So, this plague is speaking of are those thermonuclear missiles, man. Those ICBM missiles. So, we don't want to be a part of that, man. But, the Lord is saying, "Come out of her, my people." Come out of her. Back in the book of Revelation, chapter 18, at verse 4, it says, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye may not be partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues." It says, "For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh Shem Shai hath remembered her iniquities, reward her even as she rewarded you, double unto her, double according to her works, and in the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double." So this place is going down, man. All the iniquities, all the wickedness that has been brought forth out of this place. These people got to pay for it, man. All the people that support, that went on and passed away, all those wicked Edomites from back in the day, even the lady that lied on Emmett Till, all these people gonna get it, man. Eventually. It says, "How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her, For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and now I'm no widow, and she shall see no sorrow. So this, these people are proud. Says she is a queen, but really she's a whore. And this place is gonna be touched, man. That's just going into how proud these people are, thinking they just, since they got a mighty military, they can't be touched. But that's a lie. Really, go down to verse 10. It says, therefore, let's see, Salak, yeah. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai who judges her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Why is that? Because these people have made so much money off this place. They became wealthy. But it says, standing far off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And for all the debt that you've put your citizens in, first and foremost, the things you've done to the children of Israel here in this place, man. Even though we built this place up from scratch through slavery, we had been compensated for that. Our compensation is gonna come when the destruction of this place come. So, with that being said, Lord willing, this was an edifying lesson. We want to constantly give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Shalom.